we can proceed, talk a little bit more about the insight and the three universal characteristics. As you all know that in the practice of vipassana, we try to develop what we call insight or wisdom or understanding into the nature of the world, of ourselves, because it is due to delusion, ignorance, that all the entire range and depth of suffering comes about. This is because existence is not seen just in one life or one person or one aspect, but holistic. This is possible because it sees the world as a universal kind of existence. And suffering, the causes of all the suffering comes from the mind, from the consciousness. We are fortunate to have come across the teachings of the Buddha so that we can learn the method to develop this insight, knowledge. There are many ways to go about it, depending on different traditions and different teachers. But here we follow the teachings based on the Mahasi system from Dhamma. Of course, by now there are so many teachers, so many methods, and so each teacher has his way of dealing with it. Even within the Mahasi system, there are so many teachers involved, and not all would teach everything the same, but generally they would follow the principle of the Satipatthana. We also learned that when we talk of wisdom or insight, there are different types. First, there is what you call Suttamaya Panya, the one that comes from learning and theory. Then it comes from thinking, reasoning. And finally, it is from the meditation process, practice. Meditation practice also has two branches. One is samatha, tranquility, the other one is vipassana, insight. Since we are talking about insight development, so it is we are talking about insight meditation. Although some may practice tranquility first prior to that. The important thing about this insight is it does not come with thinking. It comes with concepts. Although in the beginning we make use of concepts, to develop the basics like concentration. But what is important is this understanding is non-conceptual. And it's non-conceptual in the sense that it comes with direct experience of reality. The problem is what is reality? Reality is what is really there, as I said yesterday. But it's a bit tricky because the mind all the while has been built over, experience has been built upon and backed by all these concepts of time, space, person. And on the top of that, all those theory and Dhamma, which is to help you to experience the reality directly. Sometimes it creates also a barrier by itself. So from the very start, we have to be correct. That's why there is this what you call mindfulness of the direct experience, starting with the bodily experience. That's Kayanupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the bodily sensations. Once you start training on mindfulness of bodily sensations, the mental sensations would also follow. Because right next to it, from contact, arises feelings. And so the next base that you set out will be Vedananupassana, mindfulness of feelings. So one important thing is this mindfulness of feelings and body is built up to a large extent. In the meantime, you slowly build up mindfulness of consciousness. But unless this mindfulness of body and feelings are well established, it's difficult to be mindful of consciousness completely and properly. The other day, somebody asked me, would I hold a retreat on Cittanupassana, mindfulness of consciousness? I said that you cannot separate mindfulness of consciousness with the mindfulness of the body and feelings. Unless you prove that the mindfulness of body and feelings are well established, I would not go into meditation on consciousness. If your mindfulness of body and feelings are strong, you would use it as a base to go into mindfulness of consciousness, either through naturally or through specific instructions. But what is important is not mindfulness of consciousness or feelings or Dhamma or body. The important thing is the arousing of insight into things as they really are, the Dhamma or the three universal characteristics. Although each of these foundations have their particular use, value and suitability. So what important thing is, number one, you should try to develop continuous mindfulness. Only when there's continuous mindfulness on the vipassana objects, on the different types of vipassana objects, then there will arise vipassana concentration. And insight arises because of vipassana concentration. Vipassana does not arise through samatha concentration. Otherwise, the Hindu yogis during the Buddha's time, they would have already got enlightened, but many of them are still not there. Unless, of course, the person has special inclination, potential for insight. But since it's understood that during the Buddha's time, there are no arahants, and all there are the streamliness and so on. They started coming only on the preaching of the Dhamma Chakra Sutta. That is where Anya Kondanya attained the stream winner. So, one of the most important is you have to have continuous mindfulness, not 100%, but to a great extent, and you develop vipassana concentration. Because samatha also you need continuous mindfulness, otherwise you cannot get so deep concentration. But because you don't practice vipassana mindfulness, so the vipassana concentration does not arise. So vipassana concentration is watching continuously, momentarily, moment to moment, all the vipassana objects that arise in your day, in your meditation. For example, in the walking meditation, the elements, the sitting meditation, the elements, the feelings, the mental, the consciousness, and the mental objects. More important, they are the Paramatha Dhammas, the ultimate realities. So when one does it, as you are all trying to do it now, then there will arise what you call vipassana concentration. Vipassana concentration is moment to moment consciousness taking hold of the vipassana object, and it arises and passes away. That means the mindfulness and the consciousness that takes rise of the vipassana object like the rising and falling, sitting and touching, pain and so on, as they rise and disappear. And when you watch them closely, the three characteristics become clear, and so they arise and pass away, moment to moment. Here one has to be careful because as I said yesterday, the three universal characteristics, or what that runs prior to the three universal characteristics, are two different things. Suppose what you see of change usually refer to as impermanence, because there's this similar meaning in the English vocabulary. So what you see change, like what rises, after that falling, pain comes, pain goes, tension comes, tension goes, and there's change. On a wider scale, you said, people born, people die. This all comes with changes. But this is not the universal characteristic of impermanence. Universal characteristic of impermanence is when you see it, immediately after that it disappears. When you see the elements like the wind element tension, the moment you see it clearly, immediately it disappears. The moment you see pain, immediately the pain disappears. The moment you see consciousness, immediately the consciousness disappears. That's when the universal characteristic of impermanence become clear. But before that, you see all this changing of all the different objects you meet with your meditation. This is also change, and this is more of what we call conventional impermanence. It is not wrong, you're doing it correctly, except that you're not quite there yet. You have to be able to see it really moment to moment. Then you get the point. Otherwise, people see just change everywhere, change. So, for example, they see sensations here, run there, and they try to follow the sensations running up, down, from east, west, north, south. Finally, they form decided pathways. It goes in circles, it goes in this way, that way, and they start forming patterns. There's a pattern, round pattern, there's a zigzag pattern, there's a triangular pattern, and all these patterns, of course, is natural, because when you see things, you naturally conceptualize. But they develop it further, and they develop further into what we call nimittas, signs. Usually when meditation is nimittas, we refer to visualized forms. For example, when you meditate, when I first learned to meditate, sometimes I see all these lights, bright lights, blink, Usually before I meditate, I also see all these lights in different colors. Zoom, zoom. Very colorful, until I cannot sleep. When I was a kid. So finally I became very scared of them. And the beginning was very nice. So in meditation also you see all this bright light. Sometimes it can be very bright, like a torch shining in front of your face, like that. This is called nimittas, visualized forms. They are usually not vipassana objects. Whether red, yellow, blue, green or white, they are not vipassana objects. They may change, they may come and go, but they are not vipassana objects. So, you watch them, usually they come and they go, and then you go back to your true vipassana objects, like rising and falling, and pain, and consciousness, and they don't last. But they last at the end. These nimittas become powerful. And when they become powerful, then it can be problematic. One thing is they can be attached to it. People who don't know much Dhamma, they see that usually it is very pleasant, very bright, and then they attach to it. When they attach to it, these deeper hallucinations arise, and then mind can go cuckoo. And of course, you can come with things like sounds. Because when you're in the mind, you may come with sounds. And then the develop tinnitus. It's terrible. Then if they are musically inclined, then they hear a lot of music, So if you're mindful, they come and they go, they pass away. And this still comes under nimittas. The interesting point is, these nimittas, the many forms, and so to say, I lost the track of my train of thought. Oh yes, I now remember. And this is well known, documented. They arise very plentifully in the second, third, and weaker fourth insight knowledges. Especially the third insight knowledge. They occur plentifully. They occur very strong. Why? Many reasons why these images arise. One thing is, when you're up to that level, your concentration is considered to be considerable. When considerable concentration is present, these images become very clear and very sharp. Now, by right, you come up to this level of insight knowledge, you see them arise and you see them pass away. As I said yesterday, they arise not necessarily because you're not mindful. You can be mindful and they arise. these lights, these shapes, this whatever, these sounds, this what, ideas, they arise the moment you're not mindful, they take you away. No, you're off. You're taken for a ride. Which in the beginning is nothing much. You wake up anyway. But some people are more dangerous. They're very attached to such things. They become very attached to the joy. They become very attached to the levels they think is pertain to. Because they think this belongs to the fourth insight knowledge, and so they attach to it. Actually, no, it's something else. And so, when the attachment is strong, hallucinations develop, and they don't know. Yeah? So, which means that after a while, it cannot be called any insight knowledge at all. It only looks like insight knowledge. They are what we call secondary processes, secondary experiences, or we say corrupted inferential developments. Another interesting thing is there are what we call sankhara nimittas, signs of formations. These are like formations. They may not have color, they may not have shape. Usually there's some kind of shape, but they may not have color. They may be associated with fine ideas, and so on. And so, when they arise, including some of them which are actually samatha nimittas. You know samatha nimitta, when people want to go to samatha, they develop samatha nimittas. Right? Usually they're very bright, but sometimes they're not bright. Because there's so many samatha objects. The kasinas, they're very clear and bright. But there are many other objects like the elements, contemplation of the elements, contemplation of the loathsomeness, contemplation of the recollections. Some of them are not. But they are nimittas in a certain way. And so, but they are not vipassana, no? So, when they arise, if you are not experienced enough, again, you can be led astray. That's why there is this purification of path and what is not path, magga, amagga, visuddhi. So the best way is generally what you see and be mindful, rise, pass away, be mindful, rise and pass away. Don't get all those funny ideas. And stick to your very basic objects first before you go further. When there are a lot of objects which are not questionable, then you have to see properly. See, if a person has these few insight knowledges, obviously they are not so sharp and not so clear yet, then they can still get trapped and misled, no? And so can be quite traumatic. No? You can be quite shaken. And so I believe that your basic insight knowledges have to be very strong. Have to be very strong. And don't push it so far. Because what happens is, when it goes overboard, it's very easy to come back. If you try to come back, you cannot come back, then you're dangerous. Getting to be a bit risky. So that says much about the Mahasi system. The Mahasi system established very deeply into the body and feeling foundations of mindfulness. And I appreciate that. Because you see, for example, they don't teach samatha to beginners. That means the real samatha, jhanic. Because it can be dangerous, I wanted to learn, but after only they were satisfied with my vipassana practice, they started teaching me. And I could understand, because when I was doing the Kasina meditation, the concentration was so intense, very intense. Not a chanting, only the whole concentration go, but not so intense. The most intense are the Kasinas. And I know that if I did not have a strong vipassana base, I could have gone crazy. I could have. But luckily my vipassana base is strong enough. If something goes wrong, boom, you take me back. Come back! My friend say, come back! Immediately come back. I say, okay. But I still have to be careful because the intensity of the concentration develops. So if you go into deep vipassana, concentration is also very strong. They say that you go into what we call vipassana jhanas. A lot of people contend there's no such thing as vipassana jhana. Dầu thì con, dầu mà con. Say I say. I believe there's vipassana jhana. Because I practice samatha jhana and I practice vipassana as well. So when I compare, there is vipassana jhana. Although theoretically you don't say there's vipassana jhana. It is like vipassana. In terms of experience, I say it's the same. In theory you cannot say. It is like because of the presence of the jhanic factors. It is upachara, or very strong upachara. And incidentally, upachara has different levels of upachara. You see, there's always upachara, excess concentration, before the jhanas. You see the upachara before the first jhana, upachara before the second jhana, upachara before the third jhana, upachara before the fourth jhana, upachara between the fifth jhana, different. The intensity is also different. The nimitta involved is also different. That one is another story. I'm not going to go into that. So, to get into what you call, to get into insight and so on, you have to have strong basis of vipassana concentration. And once you have strong basis of the vipassana concentration, then you can develop strong insight into whichever vipassana object that you take. Now what happens is, we talk about the first insight knowledge, okay, first insight on anatta, on all these vipassana objects, okay, it's clear. You know clearly what anatta is, and you can practice anatta which means that you can practice anatta in your daily life, no problem. Because you can see non-self into the body, the sensations, you can see non-self into the feelings, you can see non-self in the consciousness. It's all clear enough, you see that. That means you can practice comfortably, quite easily, unless you're not too busy and too complicated computer analysis jobs. Computer analysis are not concept, you know. Particularly in the cyber the conceptual world. And you can get very strong concentration. Correct? Totally inside the computer. You get computer absorption. You don't absorb the computer absorbs you. Yeah. Vipassana, when the concentration progress, what happens? At the beginning, you go through the object. When the concentration increases, the object comes to you. Who's greater, me or you? Computer or me? If computer is greater, I go to you. But if I'm greater, computer will come to me. Yeah? Just a bad joke. So, anyway, this doesn't matter what you call it jhana or what. The important thing is the function of the right concentration plays its part in the development of insight. So when that happens, you're very clear. Then after that, the next insight knowledges would naturally follow up. Actually, even if your first insight knowledge is developed very well, but not very full, the second insight knowledge can develop, or even the third. But of course, it doesn't develop very well. It's there. Because it's just like a tree. How established has the tree to be before it bears fruits? Some have to grow very tall before it bears fruits. Some is little also it bears fruits, depending on the conditions. Right? So to go to maturity, it does not have to be very big. Small also it can mature. Stunted bonsai, you know. Bonsai. You do have bonsai? Last time I remember I was in Bukit Rambai. Remember Uncle E? He does bonsai, you know. You know Uncle E? You know Uncle E? Kevin, you know Uncle E? Before your time. Mrs. Ong knows Uncle E. You know Uncle E? Of course he knows Uncle E. They were very good friends, buddies. Yeah? So, he does bonsai. Then he shows off his bonsai to me. You know. Monday, you see, I got body tree bonsai. Oh dear. You know what you do with body tree bonsai? Then you stunt the body tree. So when you stunt the inside, so next time your inside gets stunted. so he quickly took the body tree and planted on the ground. I don't know whether that logic works or not, but it's not a good idea. Because I don't believe in bonsai, stunting trees. No. Trees should have this natural way, freedom to grow as they wish. After all, that is what you call evolution, and adaptation. So anyway, it does not have to be developed so much to go into the second level, and the second level doesn't have to develop so much to develop the third level. Of course, the second and third level doesn't develop so much. It depends whether it develops or not. It depends on so many factors. One is that personal wisdom potential is there or not. If personal wisdom potential is not there, even the first insight knowledge is going to develop. Not to mention the second. But you're not going to this 1, 2, 3 insight, and you're going for the higher things. You're reaching for what? The sky. You're reaching for Nibbana. So, you reach for Nibbana, you must have a strong foundation. Each foundation must be strong. It's like a pyramid. Inside knowledge is like a pyramid. To go really strong, you must have a strong base. You cannot be like a coconut tree, Coconut tree is not very stable. It's very. So you have the first insight, then after that, when it develops enough, the second insight knowledge will generally arise. Now the essence of the first insight knowledge is what I told you already, is non-self. In terms of Pali, they say that this analytical knowledge or the discrimination knowledge into mind and matter. Then somebody came along and says, I got the first insight knowledge. How? Well, I know mind is one thing, I know matter is another thing. Right? Rising, falling, tension is matter, feeling is mind. Of course, that rendered me speechless. I mean, you're taking your word for word translation. It's not like that. People know better. People who practice. But these are beginners, so it cannot be helped. So the important thing is when you see Rupa clearly, it means you see it as an ultimate reality. It means you see it as non-self. When you see mental phenomena clearly, it means you see mental phenomena as a natural reality, which is mental quality is non-self. That's what it means. You see non-self in all these mind and material phenomena. And so when you see these two clearly as non-self, then you see the mind and the object clearly, right? It's non-self. Now, interesting thing comes next. If you talk about analysis and Abhidhamma and all these things, come back to the same old story. The eternal questions, the mind and its object. There's the mind and the object. When you watch mind and you watch rising falling, the mind is the consciousness and the object is the rising falling. Right? But is the rising falling materiality? Not necessarily. Huh? Rising falling, is what they say. What's the rising falling? Is my stomach going up and down. The stomach is different. Stomach, you may end up watching nutrition, the food. So, down as a form, as a shape, as a distance. It's not completely rupa. Rupa is pure tension that arises and passes from moment to moment. And you see the characteristic of rupa clearly, and therefore when you see the characteristic of rupa clearly, you see anatta, the rupa. And then you see the consciousness sees the rupa of the wind element. At first, agak-agak lah, caputo. So you see, but still got what we call literal conception there. So when your conceptualization becomes less, you can still start breaking up. The wind element start breaking up moment to moment. The anatta must be strong in that case. Now at that moment you start breaking up moment to moment to fine particles. And when you start seeing breaking up, now the consciousness, the one that sees it breaking up. When you see it breaking up, when you see the consciousness as anatta, can or not? That is the question. When you see the object, rupa, you're not seeing the consciousness. When you see the consciousness, no, you're seeing the rupa. Correct or not? Anybody object? I'm not always right, no, sometimes I simply talk, I cakap nonsense, you don't simply believe me, no? Correct or not? I got one on my side. One vote. Next time I vote for you when you go to Gerakan, I will vote for you. So how? So when you watch consciousness, and you see consciousness as object, and then you watch consciousness as clearly as non-self. It's not the present consciousness, it's the immediate past consciousness. Because the present consciousness cannot know itself. Right? I've said this before. There's the past consciousness. Can you see the past consciousness as anatta? It's already past, no more, tak ada lagi, sudah habis. Can or not? The past consciousness can be the object of the mind door. Now, you can know it by inferential knowledge. Then you see this gets complicated. You don't simply talk inside, no? If you talk inside, I can confuse you very well. Because people ask me all these questions, so I must be able to answer their questions. Because all these Westerners orang kau siong. Chinese kau very ji. So, by inferential knowledge, it is possible. Even the five sense objects goes into the mind door. And they become an object of the mind door. So, you don't want to get you too complicated. So when you talk of the first insight knowledge, you see. So can you see the non-self of the consciousness and the object of consciousness at the same time. Strictly speaking, no. But it is possible by way of the second insight knowledge. Because second insight knowledge is conditioning. It sees the conditioning both of the object and the consciousness together. But it does not see at that moment. At that moment, consciousness cannot see itself. But it sees it through knowledge of conditioning, which is inferential knowledge. How come inferential knowledge can get it while the normal knowledge cannot get? Normal knowledge cannot. That's why many people don't understand this second insight knowledge. You go to the extent that you must get past life only you can get second insight knowledge. Because you go into the Paramattha Dhamma, you go into the reality. When you go into the reality, everything is there. All the inside knowledge goes into the ultimate reality, Paramattha Dhamma, not in terms of the 89 consciousness, 52 mental states, 28 rupa, nibbana. No, that one is superficial categorization at the first level. Paramattha Dhamma must first go through that. That is Paramattha as perceived by the first insight knowledge. And Paramattha Dhamma is perceived by the second insight knowledge. Paramattha is perceived by the third insight knowledge. Paramattha is perceived at the 10th insight knowledge, the 14th insight knowledge, 16th insight knowledge. All are Paramattha Dhammas. That is reality. So when Vipassana, it goes straight into the reality. So when you go into your insight discriminatory perception is deep enough beyond the first level of anatta, go to the second level of anatta. And you come out, you can infer without thinking at first into Namarupa. Which means that Nama conditions Rupa, Rupa conditions Nama. Right? You think of that because my mind, I see a bright object, my object is bright, so it's conditioning. Correct or not? Correct or not? I see everything black, I also become sleepy. So the darkness conditions my sleepy mind to arise. Right? That's why you want to sleep, don't make sure there are no bright lights. When you're sleepy in the morning trying to meditate, switch on the light. Common sense this conditioning, but this conditioning is understood through thinking. Cao kiang, it's correct, but it is not inside knowledge, it is smart, like thinking. It's not bad, good, it's very useful. You need all these things, otherwise you cannot solve problems. But when you talk inside knowledge, it's different. Inside knowledge, the perception of the insight is not thinking, the insight is the sharp perception of mindfulness, needle sharp, razor sharp. It goes into the Paramattha Dhamma, the reality as it is. And then take out, then you can see it matches all these things around conditioning. So that conditioning goes into all forms of conditioning. Depending on the maturity of the conditioning, knowledge of conditioning, how widespread, how deep the conditioning of ultimate realities as in the Mahapatthana, or as further implied in the daily life comes into play. Okay? So the insight into the second knowledge of conditioning does not come directly from recollecting past lives. This comes from and going into the Paramattha Dhammas with perception of reality and comes out to be able to make the proper inferential. Although these normal things in daily life you can still infer and you can still be correct in cause and effect. Even to the extent of thinking. Thinking can involve recollection of past lives. When I recollect past lives, I remember I was Queen of Egypt. And I remember I was King Asoka. Whatever lah, with the benefit of doubt, I don't know lah, maybe, could be, who knows, I don't know, I cannot see your past life, I don't know. And why would I want to see your past life in the first place? So anyway, that one doesn't have to go into the Paramattha Dhamma, It comes with perception, sanya, very heightened sanya, sharpened through the jhanic factors to be able to trace back all the events in the past. That is not going to Paramattha Dhamma, or exposition. But if a person is so sharp, he could, if he directed his mind to the Paramattha Dhamma. Otherwise, why? Those people in India during the Buddha's Bodhisattva time, they couldn't like the past life. 1 or 2 thousands of past life, 2 kalpas. But they are not enlightened. No? Very simple. Anya Kondanya, he wasn't having any jhanas, he listened to the Buddha's Dhamma talk, he got string with it. So it is talking of a different type of mental training, a different type of wisdom, and so on. So how do you know you got first or second insight knowledge? There's another story. See how strong is your first insight knowledge first. So anyway, so after that you get a second insight knowledge. The important thing about it is what? Is penetration. Not just penetration into the like drilling wood. No, there's a penetration into the wood. Not like microscope penetrate, or electron microscope penetrate into the chromosomes, electrons. No, not that. It's cutting through realities by this tool of the second insight knowledge. That's why to penetrate deeper, your second insight knowledge has to deeper. Same thing. Makanya macam-macam lah, itulah. You must pass standard 1 exam first before they go to the standard 2 exam. And when you go to standard 2, you must pass standard 3. Same, because one depends on another. Right, you chop, karate, chop. Okay? First you must be able to chop thin bamboo sticks. Okay, after that you start chopping all those rods or broomsticks, the big broomsticks, the big chop. Okay, fast. Okay. You take the kayu balak, your hand break first before you. This is a bit exaggeration. But, the same principle is called the cutting edge. Right? The nature of insight of wisdom faculty, that it is able to cut through the defilements. Defilements very subtle, And to cut through the latent defilements, you must be able to cut through the finest kind of phenomena. Then you can start talking about the three universal characteristics. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. As to what they really mean in terms of experience. Otherwise, people experience, not that they're wrong, they do. I wouldn't say that all experiences are wrong. I'm just telling you the principle. To wish the sky. It's not good enough to be a frog or butterfly. Rocket. Okay, we'll stop here.